Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and tonight the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is August 18th, 2022, and this is episode 155 of the Workshop Podcast. We've been doing this 155 times already. I kind of enjoy that. I always think that's pretty cool. We're heading toward another benchmark, but we'll leave it at that for now. So real quick, guys, we got a bunch of really cool stuff going on. So many things in the pipeline. Just excited all around for a whole bunch of really cool happenings. First off, Thursday night is always my episode over on the Prepper Broadcast Network. So if you are not supporting the PBN, run by, check them out. Number one, James has got them set up over on fountain.fm right now, which is just an incredible app. I love the app. Anyway, we'll deal with that down the road. Hey, Dan W., how are you? So he's been making clips and shorts and things over there. So get by and support PBN. All kinds. There's over a dozen content creators with new stuff coming out every single night. Number two, if you are looking for a way to support the workshop and the content that I put out all the time, and of course, only if you get value in it, the easiest way now, I launched the Workshop Patch of the Month Club. And if you like irreverent, politically incorrect, sometimes rather humorous, tactical or morale patches, then this is the place to check it out. Patchofthemonth.co, $10 a month or $100 for the year. You sign up and I send you a brand new totally creative patch every single month. That's the way to do it. So, and we got Pappy Cannoli in the chat this evening. Nice to see you, Pappy. I was just thinking about you the other day. It's nice to, he was the gentleman that introduced me to James and the entire crew over at PBN, which seemed like almost a lifetime ago, but it's been a match made in heaven. So thank you. And now we have a few guests coming up in the next little while, but a couple I wanted to point out first. Finally, nailed down Cam and Kobe from the Casual Preppers podcast. They will be coming on. I believe it's September 15th. If that's wrong, I'm sorry. I got it booked on the live stream feeds already, so you'll be able to see that. But the big news was I got off the phone with William R. Fortune last evening. If you don't know him, there's probably a good chance you know his book, 1 Second After. It's probably the very first post-apocalyptic prepper porn kind of book I ever read. He has, he's a New York Times bestseller. It crosses over to all kinds of different audiences, and he has just kind of universal appeal to so many people. Anyway, all that to say, he is going to be coming on the show in 2 weeks. September 2nd, it's going to be 11 o'clock in the morning Mountain Time. So yeah, I will be pushing that like nobody's business. You guys keep an ear out. I cannot wait. It's so exciting to get a chance to interview him. It's awesome. It's great. And I keep reaching out there and trying to get better and better guests for you guys. I'm booked up right at the moment through to, I think I've got around the middle of November at this point. So if you're looking to get on the show this year in 2022, holy cow, the year's almost gone. I think I've got about 6 slots left before the new year. So we'll get them booked up and then we'll wait a bit and we'll open her back up again. But if you want to be a guest or you have a suggestion for a guest, let me know. Okay, from there, today's tool. So yesterday, I finally was able to put together some furniture for the missus. We ended up losing we didn't lose it. We ended up not getting the hardware with the package. So we had to wait ages to get it. I had to put it together. And one of my absolute favorite cheap tools is the Neiko Impact Ready Allen keys. If you're looking to start a side hustle putting together IKEA furniture, that's how I lost my hair. But anyway, if you're looking to do something like that, or you just have a lot of assembly to do, they are a lifesaver. Just pop them in. They're about 3 to 4 inches long, and they have all the different metric and imperial sizes for the Allen keys, and they speed it up and save your wrist a ton. So if you're looking for something, links in the description. Always a way to support the workshop by going by there. And if you don't pick that up, you can always go by toolmantim.shop. Okay. So, I hate to say this, guys. and it really hasn't been affected here a whole lot yet. But the times, they are changing. Well, as far as the weather goes, before long, we are going to be into some cooler weather. We're in the hottest spell of the year for us. We're in the, high 80s, low 90s, which is kind of sucked, but it is summer and I'm not going to complain. The weather hasn't changed a lot, but the elm trees are already starting to shed their leaves here, which is always a sign that that 4-letter word fall is right around the corner. And after fall, what comes. We won't talk about that quite yet. But what I will say is that my snow removal contracts officially start in 74 days, which sucks. Anyway, it's not that bad. But that means we have just over 2 months to be prepared, at least in my area. Not everybody, of course, but in my area, about 2 months to be prepared before things start to really freeze. I know some of you, you're not in that boat, but I most definitely am. Going to shout out to Martinson family. How you doing? And Snail Creek Homestead. Good to have you guys in the workshop this evening. So I thought I would come up. I thought I'd come up with a kind of tongue-in-cheek, funny, kind of eye-catching title for you guys tonight. So I figured, what better way than to say that right around the corner, because I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Erin from Two Chicks Homestead say that September 1st is pumpkin season for her. As soon as that Halloween stuff can go up. And that's basically how it works for us too. But I figured with pumpkin spice season around the corner, it was time to prepare for it. So before we get into the fall preparedness, I got kind of a different kind of schedule or different kind of segment for you guys than I normally carry. So I reached out to the workshop audience in the Telegram group. It's the best community around. I know I'm kind of biased. And I asked for their favorite fall and pumpkin recipes. They did not disappoint. And then, of course, I asked my missus. I said, well, what are the ones that we love to do the best? And so I made a quick list. I even popped in a couple of really original or different recipes for you. But I got a totally useless and only slightly related fact to share with you before we get started. If you guys didn't know this, I couldn't even believe it when I came across it, but I was doing some research for the show. Americans spend over $500 million on pumpkin spiced flavored products every single fall. $500 million. Imagine what you could do with that. But anyway, start a self-sufficient homestead, whatever. I'm just kidding. You can spend your money on whatever hell you want to. I just thought that was funny because I don't believe I've ever drank a pumpkin spice latte before. And if anyone else has, let me know, because I assume they just kind of taste like the standard kind of pumpkin spices. But anyway, so I made a list with the workshop community. I thought it was kind of cool. Had your standards. Some of these came from Erin. Pumpkin bread, pumpkin pastries, although it was typed in pumpkin pasties. And I'm thinking that's a whole different story. But anyway, I'm going to go with pastries. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Hey, Brian from the Lots Project's on. Good to see you. Now, this one was rather original. And if anybody out there's tried it, other than Erin and Nate, pumpkin chili. So I thought that's kind of cool. Anyway, I got that recipe for you here in a minute. Three Sisters stew. Always hear a lot of talk about, Three Sisters gardening and that sort of thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. Pumpkin chocolate cookies. That was from the CANNY. I've got them down here. I'll give you their name in just a second. Now, one of our absolute fall favorites. Growing up on the East Coast, we had a lot of apple orchards around. So we had access to tons of beautiful, fresh fall apples. And probably the most simple recipe in the world was our favorite. You would just core an apple, leave the skin and everything on, and you'd put a big dollop of butter and brown sugar down in the middle, put them on a tray in the oven, bake them till they got soft, and just eat the heck out of them. Always good. Apple pie, that's a favorite. There's a doctor here in town who is absolutely a huge fan of apple pie. We tend to bribe him. Drop them off to him once in a while because he always appreciates them. Roasted pumpkin seeds. They're one of those things I've never quite acquired a taste for, but I'll eat them once in a while. They're always kind of fun. And then the big one we would always do, we don't tend to have pumpkin too much around Thanksgiving, but we'll freeze pumpkin, save it, and then make our pies at Christmas time. So that was one of them. And then applesauce. That was always one of my favorites. We would cook down the apples and then just can it straight. Water bath can it. I'm not sure what the powers that be, whether they recommend straight canning or not with applesauce, but we always did. I know it's fairly acidic and nobody ever dropped dead from it, but So I was going to share with you 2 quick recipes. I thought these were kind of cool. And you're like, Tim, this is a preparedness episode. Yeah, but it's my podcast. The title is Preparing for Pumpkin for Pumpkin Spice Season. So I thought we'd have a little fun with that. Yeah, Dan W says, man, 500 million is a private island. Yes, built on the backs of many Starbucks workers. Wouldn't that be fun? John Palmer, how are you? So Erin's recipe, she said she tried it last fall. She loved it. Nate and the kids sounded like maybe not so much, but it's pumpkin chili. Not so the pumpkin's a thickener from what it says. Dan W says pumpkin bread's a favorite for him. So you get a excuse me, guys, a pound of lean ground turkey, some onion, minced garlic, a can of tri-bean blends, can of northern beans, can of stewed tomatoes, a can of tomato sauce, and 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Now, it's very specific. It says do not use pumpkin pie filling. So unless you like a really, really sweet chili, I don't think I would use pumpkin pie filling, but use puree. And then all your standard spices from there. Kind of reminds me a bit of squash soup. I had that once cold at a meeting. I wasn't real keen on it, but I would most definitely try pumpkin chili once in a while. Now, another user, and I think this might be 2 users, over on the Telegram group called CANNY Couple. I love that name. They're also on Float. So if you're looking for some like-minded individuals to hook up with on social, that is another couple to check out. So CANNY Couple had chocolate pumpkin cookies. I'd never heard of that before. I mean, I kind of like most anything pumpkin, but it's a cup and a half of pumpkin puree, cup of sugar, teaspoon of vanilla, 1 egg, and I will put this recipe in the description and the link to Erin's as well. Then you got flour, baking powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, baking soda, and chocolate chips. I thought that was kind of cool. So you got a pumpkin cookie with chocolate chips in it. Now, of course, I'm strict keto right now again because I'm working toward the Self-Reliance Festival Challenge as we have decided to make it. See how much weight we can lose. Excuse me. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then Chris Dixon, you guys have seen him many times on here. He come up with a concept of the forever stew. So this is something they do every fall at his house. And he said, every harvest, we make a massive forever stew. And I hadn't heard of this before, although I think I've heard of this type of thing back in pioneer days where they would just kind of keep a stew on the stove and you would just keep adding to it. But he said it has all the goods from the garden and some of the winter beef, the last of the week's harvest. It says it stays out on a huge crock pot because it can be any meal. It becomes more of a soup by the end of the week. Meat is pre-cooked to medium rare before going into the pot, and it's what you'd imagine it to be without the massive cauldron sitting over a fire. It says, yes, it's basically salt and pepper seasoning. You can add whatever you want to the bowl, and there's always raw hot peppers and extra stuff around to drop on top of it. Intrepid Commander James over on PBN, and if you're a member of PBN, drop in the live show chat over there. I said, great topic, Tim. Thanks, man. I always appreciate that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little bit of fun getting ready for pumpkin spice season. Pumpkin spice seasoning? Anyway, no, it's another story. So let's dive into the main topic this week. Now, we did an episode recently on the Fireside Freedom podcast called Preparing for the Fall, and lots of people thought we meant the collapse of civilization. I don't think we did. I think we meant autumn. I'm pretty sure that's what we ended up talking about, but that's what we're going to be doing tonight, preparing for the fall. And I mean the weather fall. We can deal with that other topic another night. So the first thing to do, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, because I got to be honest, autumn or fall, and I know some of you guys are like, Tim, you're crazy. I live in Texas where, it's going to be hot and I can grow, bananas outdoors for the next 6 months. Not really, but yeah, for us, this is an issue. So first off, make yourself a plan. And I've been sent maintenance guides and maintenance schedules from a few different people in the community. I did one up for PBN earlier this year. But the first thing you need to do, get out there, make a plan, put something on paper, write down your fall maintenance schedule. The reason for that is if you're anything like me, for instance, when I put my ice scrapers away for the summer, and then I go to find them in the spring or in the fall the next year, a lot of times they've disappeared. So that's why I write down my fall maintenance schedule, because if you don't, 3 or 4 or 5 items are going to go missing. It's just like when you go camping, especially when you first start camping and you think, okay, what could make this trip better next time? Make a list and then work from it. But make yourself a fall maintenance schedule, write it down, put it in a notepad, whatever it happens to be. modify it as needed. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And then you're going to save it for next year, bring it back out, use it again, modify, and repeat your process. But when you get a system down, it's going to feel less overwhelming. I started looking around this afternoon around my yard, and I thought, I got a lot of shit I need to get done. Well, Tim, let's make a plan, make a list, and work from it. So I ended up getting we'll tell you more about that later, but yeah, I got a few things done today that needed to be done. So let's start with inside the house. There's always a bunch of things. They always used to say the best time to check your smoke detectors was with when the time changed, but you can't do that anymore because the time, well, I mean, you could, but the time changes are so uneven, unbalanced that you're better off now. I think spring and fall, check your smoke detectors. Now I've been using, I don't know if I mentioned these before, but I've been using rechargeable 9-volt batteries in my smoke detectors. Some people warned me and said, hey, I don't think the voltage will be high enough. I've had no problem. We've tested them. Trust me, we've tested them a few times, overcooking the bacon, which is a cardinal sin, things like that, but it has set them off. They've worked well. I get about a year of battery life in them, and I don't have to throw them out when I'm done. I just swap them out, and they're USB chargeable, so they're great. Now, the next thing that we've started doing already, oh my God, anyway, is hauling out all your winter gear, your clothes, your jackets, your hats, your mitts for your kids, because we're going to be in the full swing of back to school time here. And you need to have that gear out because we bury it. We just bury shit. It goes in there in the spring, and then you just keep piling stuff on top of it into the storage, right? And yes, Snail Creek Homestead says as soon as cools hits the firewood pile. Yes, it makes you think about the firewood pile, doesn't it? Driving around today, like I said, the elm trees are starting to shed their leaves already. I know that's early for some of you, but for me, that's you start to see them kind of the first week or two in August. They start turning yellow, and then it's like one night they just decide they're going to drop. So for me, that's my big sign to start worrying about all that stuff. Now, here's another one not a lot of people think about, and you might think, well, we're getting into redneck territory here, and this could be a month or two down the road yet, but put your Christmas decorations up early. Get your lights up, get them on the eaves, whatever it happens to be, because the last thing you want to do is climbing your butt up there when things are frozen solid, or you got ice or snow on the ground and you're trying to get a level spot for your ladder to get up on the eaves. So think about it. Put those up early. I know you're like, Tim, don't talk about Christmas. It's only August, but it's around the corner. Now, is there anything you need to stock up in your pantry beforehand? So, are there things that you eat more of when the weather gets cold? A lot of times we crave, soups and stews and things like that. So stock up on them now. Buy them before there is a need for them. It's like, buy your stuff for Thanksgiving a month before Thanksgiving so that you have them. But, if there's things your family, how about back to school snacks, for instance? Stock up on those right now. Another good thing. Have the wood hauled in, as Snail Creek said. Always important. Think about your oil. So in some places they have furnace oil, in other places propane tanks. Have them filled up ahead of time so that you beat the rush, right? The best thing for seasonal stuff is to get it done before everyone else wants it. That way you're not sitting there in the very first cold spell and think, man, I'm down to 1/8 of a tank of propane and I need to get some delivered. But guess what? So does everyone else. So the best thing to do, get your ass ahead of time and give them a call. Outside the house, here's another one. And we talked about this the other night on Fireside, but clean up any tripping hazards. Now, a lot of you, down Tennessee, that kind of thing, it's not as big a deal. But for us, things like extension cords, things like even like frozen dog toys, they freeze to the ground. And if they're there the 1st of November, they're probably there the rest of winter. Last thing you want to do is suck up an extension cord or one of those into the snowblower or trip over it, end up breaking a neck or, your nose or something stupid like that. Just make sure all that is picked up and out of the way. Before long, we've probably got 4 weeks or so before we do this, but a lot of our summer shit's got to be put away. So our outdoor furniture, other than a couple of folding chairs, will go into the shed. They'll go to the back. The winter stuff will start coming out. The fire pits and that sort of thing, they'll go away. Anything that fills with water, like your hoses, drain your taps if you have taps that need to drain, anything like that. And there's no reason to throw good money after bad by just being lazy. And hey, I'm going to tell you, I've done this before. I've ruined perfectly good hoses by leaving them outside simply because I was too damn lazy to roll them up. And a quick tip on those, if you pick them up and kind of hold them at chest height and roll them as you go. Take your time. That water will work its way out and gravity will feed it down, and you'll end up draining 99% of the water out of that hose. And then you can take it and put it in your storage shed, because then you don't have to worry about it expanding and splitting. Empty out your garden beds. You know, I'm going to be pulling out some of the stuff that's in my wicking beds before too long. Although I got to say, the comfrey, the first batch, is drying up really nice. I hung up a bunch of batches out in the storage container the other day. And that thing, I cut it about a week ago, and I've got leaves almost a foot high already off it. They grow like rabbits, I guess you could say. Here's another one you might not think about, but it's good to get done now. Weather stripping on doors. There's nothing worse than realizing you got a nasty old draft on the side of your door in the middle of winter. So, you know, the other day I was looking and I could see daylight out my back door. One of the dogs must have chewed on it, and there's about a strip of 18 inches long. Weather stripping, completely missed. So take your time, walk around and do that. What did I do this afternoon? I give my grill a good cleaning. Because you don't think about it, but grill fires can happen in the middle of winter too. And if you don't give it a good cleaning now, what are the chances you're going to go out when it's minus 30, minus 20, minus 10, whatever it happens to be where you live, and give your grill a good cleaning? Now, I grill, I barbecue 12 months of the year, all the time. But I can promise you, I don't clean my grill in the middle of winter. So do it now, get it done so that you don't have to worry about it. Give all your outdoor furniture a good washing. I know my buddy Ford mentioned quite a while ago that there is actual potential in a side hustle for going around and pressure washing cushions and outdoor furniture and that kind of stuff. Give it all a good washing early in the morning when you know it's going to be a nice, bright, sunny day. Leave that stuff out there. Just let the sun beat on it, dry it off, then put it away. All right, here's a good one. How about gardens and sheds? Something we always think about. And I don't know about you guys, but here's the thing about storage. I got to come up with a rule for this, but the unofficial rule is whatever amount of storage space you have, the clutter you have grows up to and including the full size of your garage. So if you've got 2 garages, you're going to manage to get just enough clutter to fill up those 2 garages. But if you go and get yourself a 3rd garage, you're like, finally, my storage situation is solved. No, not true, because you're going to fill it up again. It just seems to happen. The junk kind of manifests itself to the point that it fills whatever storage you have. So if you have unheated sheds and garages, the first thing you need to do is get all your latex. You get your glues, get your caulking, get your paint, any of that stuff. Take it indoors, because it's going to freeze and you're going to just waste good money again. And how long does that really take? A couple of minutes. Snowblower, get it out and test it if that's what you use. Inspect your snow shovels. Do you need any new ones? Time to winterize your summer gas gear. So whatever you happen to have, anything small engine, we're going to talk about that in a minute here, but any small engine gear you have, well, it's time to put it away. You know, I've got probably, what do I got? 5 weeks left of mowing season here. So a lot of it's going to go away, but most of mine's battery now, so it's not a big deal. Then take some time and organize your garage. So this is where I wanted to dig in my feet here for just a minute, because I try to organize my storage areas twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. Now, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't always happen, but I do have the best of intentions to do it. We did it this year in the spring. It was a huge job because I didn't do it last fall. So we're going to take a few minutes one of these weekends and we're going to give it a good cleaning. So I got a good buddy. His name's Phil. He's still living. He used to run a nudie. It was called New to You Music and Books. It was a hockey card store. It had books and music and all of that. And I went in one day and the place was a mess. He had books everywhere, all over the floor, all over the it was a mess. Nothing was organized. I said, what in the hell are you doing? And he looked at me and he says, well, Tim, he says, you got to make a mess to fix a mess. And that has stuck with me ever since. So I wanted to share with you guys kind of my process for cleaning up a messy storage area, because you always need, here's the thing. If you think you don't have enough storage, take a day and organize your storage areas, and you're going to all of a sudden find 30 to 40% more storage space. It's just, you know, an incontrovertible truth. It works. So first thing you got to do is make a plan. What's your goal for organizing? You know, do you want to get rid of stuff? Do you want to make more room? Do you want to clean things up? But make a plan. Like, okay, am I going to work on this shed today, this garage tomorrow, this storage container the next day, whatever it is. Now, the next thing you got to do, this is going to be a pain. It's hard to do, but if it's just a straight up storage area, you got to haul everything out. Just about every, I mean, you might leave one or two big items in, but the quickest way to do it is just bite the bullet and start hauling all that shit out. I've got a storage container that I lease downtown around a bunch of them. And what we do is we just go in, we haul everything out, and we make piles. So then once you haul everything out, you got to figure out, what am I going to donate? So is there stuff in there that I brought home I don't need? Whatever it happens to be, I just have no use for it. It's going to go off to Goodwill or to, you know, Salvation Army, whatever it happens to be. But I need to get rid of some stuff. You need to have a strong eye toward that, and you need to be a resolute spirit. You need to sit down and say, okay, I'm getting rid of it. I haven't used it in a year or 2 years. It's going. Now, be honest about that. Are you donating all this stuff because you don't want it? Or is it useless? Should it go to the landfill? So donate it or dump it. Which one is it? So figure that out. Make your piles. Put a donate pile here. Put a sell pile there. Put a dump pile there. Then, before you put anything back in, make another plan. I know I sound like an old man. Write it down, make a plan, but this is the best way that I've ever figured to organize large areas like this. So plan your restack. So you're going to look in there and you're going to say, okay, this is where this is going to go. This will fit here. Take a minute. That's what I find. If people just start ramming things in, you're going to lose all the space you thought you were going to gain. But if you take a minute and you plan, kind of like playing, I want to say Jenga, but you know, or have you ever moved somebody and you had to figure out where to put everything? Take your time, make a plan. Now, what I found is put your large items in first. So if you got like a ride-on mower or a couple of fridges, slide them right to the back of whatever the shed is and then stack things around it. Then also put the things you're not going to need for another year, put them to the back as well. So just keep that in your mind. You're like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. The stuff I don't need, of course, needs to go to the back. You know, there's no sense in having all your Christmas decorations out front when, you know, you're coming up on Easter, right? So have those things rotating. That's what we try to do here at the house with our decorations for seasons as well. Then another thing, take a minute, look at your stuff and stack like items together. So if you got a bunch of stuff that are in boxes, find a corner, stack them all the way to the roof. Use your vertical space the best you can. That's the best way to get the most use out of a storage area. Also, don't forget to plan an access path. So, you know, whether it just happens to be right at the doorway so you can get in and move around, leave room to swing the door, or leave room to actually walk in. That's what I did last year when we stored our cleared up our storage container, was I left a small path right down the middle with stuff on either side, and then the back half was totally full, stacked right to the gills. And then you can fit your medium and small stuff in wherever, you know, put a box up on top of fridge, or, you know, slide a trike in this one little spot where it can go, whatever it happens to be, but start fitting the pieces in like a puzzle. And then repeat this every 6 months or quick, you know, however often. It's going to be a lot faster when you do that. So if you take your time and you say, okay, twice a year I'm going to do it. Well, you might need to haul everything out this time, but in the spring, if things haven't moved around a whole lot and you still got a little bit of storage, no big deal. But what I find is, like my storage container downtown right now, I organized everything. I had almost half a storage container empty. So mentally, I know I have a storage container there. Whenever I need to get rid of something, it goes downtown. So right now, my snow blower's in there. I just delivered a playground set for the daycare that I haven't assembled yet. That went in there. Whole bunch of stuff. All of a sudden, your mind says, I have empty space. What do they say? Nature abhors a vacuum. So we need to fill it up, right? We need to fill in the storage container. That's just what we do. So when we organize this time, we're probably just going to pull the fresh stuff out. What needs to stay in there? What can I get rid of? Repeat the process, right? So next thing, small engines for winter or small engines for fall, whatever it happens to be. I thought I'd share with you my process for that as well. So whether it happens to be, you know, tillers or aerators, push mowers, this could be 4-stroke engines or 2-stroke engines, whatever they happen to be, whatever you have. But this is what I do. This is what I used to do with my push mowers before I switched to all battery. I have other gear I do it with, but those were the big ones. First thing I do, again, I try to plan this on a really nice, warm, sunny day. Pressure wash everything. Now, here's the thing. If you don't have a pressure washer, go to this might sound funny, load up all your gear and go to a do-it-yourself or self-serve pressure wash bay, somewhere where you can go and wash vehicles. Because if you're renting it, they don't care. Just clean up your mess. Don't be that guy that leaves all the grass you just blew out of your mowers right in the middle. Wash it down into the little caverns that collect it. But yeah, take it up there. Give it a really good wash. Then take it home or take it out on a parking pad somewhere and leave it up so the bottom, everything, the air can circulate, the sun can get on, get it completely dry, thoroughly dry. Then from there, once you get all that gunk and debris, dirt and all that off it completely, then you're free to start inspecting it for damages. So walk around. That last 2-3 years ago, that's when I found the rear bagging chute on one of them had cracked right in half. I didn't notice it most of the summer because it was covered in debris and grass. We'd give it a brush off, but we never give it a real deep cleaning. So then walk around and inspect it for damages. If it's good, here's something else I do. I usually keep white, black, and red spray paint on hand because most gear, white, black, or red, most everything I have is that. So if I'm, spraying my garden tools, it's going to be black. If it's my mowers, they're going to be red. But flip it over, up underneath, whatever it happens to be, anywhere where there's a little bit of rust, scrape the rust off and give it a spray paint. Give it a couple of good liberal coats, leave it out, let it dry. Then take all the gas out of it if you can. If you have one of those little pumps or a little suction pump, take most of it out because you don't want to have to sit and let it run for hours. That's what I used to do. I used to start up my mowers. I'd put a clamp on the safety bar, completely defeating that purpose, and letting it run for an hour because I didn't want to drain the gas out of it. So get most of the gas out, add yourself a couple of scientific measurement, 2 or 3 glugs of seafoam, run it through till it runs itself dry. That'll clean out all the gunk that's in the carburetor. Then you're good. You're not going to have any old skunky gas in there that's going to be a pain in the ass to start up in the spring. Next thing this is when I change the oil. Get all that old gunky, skunky oil out of there. Make sure you get it all out, put some nice fresh oil in so that you're ready to go first thing in spring. Change the spark plug out because now you got fresh oil, fresh gas. Well, you will have fresh gas, and it's great to start spring with a new spark plug. Hey, Hunter. Hunter's coming over from Twitch. Good to see you, buddy. Inspect and clean the air filter. Check it out. This goes for generators too. Make sure mice haven't made a nest in there. If you can blow them out, if they're the pleated style, either brush them out or gently blow them out. If they're the foam style, easiest way, run them in, well, don't do it in your wife's sink if you can help it, but hot soapy water, scrub them really, really good, wring them out, let them dry. And John Palmer says, don't forget yellow paint. That is true. You can only keep so much stuff, right? But yeah, so from there, if you've got a foam air filter, like I said, hot soapy water, just rinse it back and forth till it starts running clean. Wring it out, let it dry really good, and then put a couple of drops of some kind of multi-purpose oil and just work it in there. That just helps it do what it needs to do, and then reinsert it. I know they love the pleated paper filters, but just drives me nuts having to keep them on hand. If you have a foam one, if you baby that thing, that'll last you decades. But those pleated ones just eventually get full and junked up and you can't clean them out, so you have to replace them. Hunter says he's working on the forge tonight. Always love, or working in the forge, sorry. Always love hearing people hustling away. It's always great. Good to have you, though. So like I said, inspect and clean the air filter. Get your winter gear out of the way, and then store your summer stuff all the way to the back. Now, here's one thing you might not think about. A couple of years ago, I had my push mowers right to the back in one of my storage containers, and I had a couple of heavy tools sitting there. And at some point I must have moved things around. One of the tools came down and broke a piece off the mower. So when you're storing things, the best you can, try to make sure that you don't have, trap set where big things can fall down and cost you a lot of money because you spent all that time changing the oil, pressure washing, draining the gas, giving it a spray paint, all of that just to store it away and something fall down and break on it. So just be careful, right? So next, for pumpkin spice preparedness. Now, for dealing with the fall coming up. John Palmer says he keeps a bottle. Let's bring this up for you. Says, I keep a spray bottle of soapy water in the garage with the mower for filters. That's a great idea. And then you don't have to get hollered at by the wife when she wonders why there's dirt and dust and oil in the sink. Because if there's one rule of thumb, and this goes for shaving as well, no matter how hard a man attempts to clean out a sink, it will never quite be up to the lady's standard. They will always find a whisker or one piece of dust or dirt. So just don't do it. I'm speaking from many years of being married experience. So next thing we can check out is our automotive end of things. And depending on where you live, this may be a big deal. It may not be, but you got a few things. First thing you want to do is haul out your emergency kit. We're due to do that right away. If you've got anything in there that doesn't like winter, swap it out. We've got water in there. It's going to freeze. Well, it's neither here nor there. You can't deal. We got to deal with it. But a great tip that sometimes you just hear the simplest thing and it just clicks with you. But Nate, I think this was on our fireside episode the other day. Nate from Two Chicks Homestead said all they do is every time they go for a drive, they take a bottle of water with them. How simple is that? They all have water bottles in their family. They fill them up. They take them with them so they have something to drink. So you never have to end up having frozen water that you have to unfreeze in an emergency scenario or emergency situation. So that's really good. And Hunter says, I don't, yeah. So yes. Also, I do not want to get any messages from any angry wives or husbands because Hunter says, babe, Tim says I don't have to clean. That is not what I said, but you can misconstrue it if you want. I understand. Change out your washer fluid. Now, again, this may not be an issue for some of you, but up here, if I don't use bug wash in the summer, I'm in trouble because I can't see. These bugs are like wallpaper paste to the windshield. But if I don't swap out, I'm going to end up having a frozen windshield washer reservoir because, of course, that stuff freezes quickly. So I need to swap out for -40 snow, -40 availability because that stuff freezes like nobody's business. Sometimes it gets even a little colder. Winter tires. Here's another one. Yazik says over on Telegram, he swears he heard Tim say you don't have to clean. I'm just saying, if you want to get in trouble, just test the waters with not cleaning up a sink after you do it. But anyway, I pass on. Ice scrapers, haul them out because guaranteed, at least in my instance, if I put 4 ice scrapers away in the spring, I'll be able to find 2 or 3 in the fall. Just a rule of thumb. Doesn't matter how organized I am. Doesn't matter whether I coined the term repairedness or not. I will tell you, if I throw ice scrapers in the garage, they just disappear. They go to the same place the socks and the dryer go every single time. Now, here's the next one. Snow tires. If you're going to get your snow tires on, beat the rush because you don't want to be one of those people looking around thinking, oh my God, the snow is falling and I need winter tires, because guess what? Every other average Joe is doing the same thing that day. So do it ahead of time. Now, stock up on, I know this is crazy to even be talking about, sand, traction sand, and ice melt now or soon, because you could end up like last winter. I thought I had enough. I bought half a pallet on clearance the year before, and we had such a nasty old winter that I went through it all. But stock up ahead of time. Do your due diligence. Also, I found out recently that my town offers traction sand mixed with salt to homeowners to use. So it's always there and available. So just look into your town and see if maybe they have something like that. Heating system. That's the next one. Chimney. If you haven't cleaned it, haven't inspected it, make sure that some criminal didn't climb up on your roof, try to, get unlawful entry into your home, get stuck halfway down and has been rotting there all summer. Just make sure that doesn't happen, right? But yeah, inspect your chimney. Make sure there's not a bird's nest in there. A raccoon didn't climb up. Make sure that you haven't lost your chimney cap through the summer, through last spring, whatever, because they do tend to blow away. Now, this is something we do like to do, get a furnace inspection done. So each year have it serviced. So book that now again, because people are going to start thinking about it. So get it booked ahead of time so that you're not fighting the hordes once again. Swap out your furnace filter and, oh, there it is. Hunter just brought it up. Change your dang HVAC filters. Yes. Change them. If you have a reusable filter, clean it out. But most of them nowadays are, swap them out. But yes, get it done. Be done with it. Winter inspection. John Palmer says use an ice shield windshield cover so you don't need scrapers. I'm going to test that out this year. I think it would work quite well for us. I really do. But yes, I haven't tried them. If anybody else has tried those ice shield windshield covers, I'd like to hear your opinion on them. But they do look pretty handy. Also, ductwork. Get your ductwork cleaned. just so that you don't have a buildup of dust. It helps improve the efficiency of your furnace, helps you from burning out your motor too quick, all of that jazz. I know last year, like I said, this house had been a rental for years. Who knows when it had been done. There was enough hair and there was enough hair that come out of the furnace and ductwork that you could have built 2 more dogs or 2 more cats. But get it done if you're going to get it done, or do it yourself. You know, you can do it. I did a poor man's version with a shop vac on it with a really long hose and an upholstery brush. It's pretty good. You know, I kind of like hiring people now because, you know, they're going to do a good job and it saves me a bunch of time. But be careful. There's scams out there. I don't know why there's so many scams in the ductwork cleaning area, but we've had a couple of times we've called companies and they've, you know, apparently they get pushy and they don't do good work and then they try to overcharge you. But what we found is in the ductwork, if it's a Facebook ad, you might want to stay away from it, because quite often what we found was they were impersonating other companies. They were just some fly-by-night guy and they would come down and butcher your ductwork, your plenum, whatever it was. They'd cut great big holes in them, do a shitty job of patching them up, not clean properly, and then try to charge you 3 to 4 times as much. These are the horror stories I've heard from other people on the local Facebook group. So, James Richter, how are you? Good to have you. This is my man, howdy. Always good to have you. So yes, heating system's good. Plumbing pipes, your plumbing system. Only really a couple of things here. Yeah, that's true. Hunter said, if you have bad allergies, duct cleaning will run you ragged. Yeah, it's not worth it. Again, that's my big thing. It's like mowing for me. I mean, when the pollen and everything's out, I'm a mess some years. I don't know why. Some years I am, some years I'm not. But again, I don't like dealing with dust because I do have allergies and it just beats the shit out of you. So if you can hire somebody, let them do it. So plumbing pipes, make sure no rodents have gotten down in and chewed out your insulation. That's a big deal. You just got to look out, depending on where you live, right? Test your heating tape. So if you have those heat tracers installed, now is the time. If you got to crawl under a trailer or, you know, go into a crawl space somewhere, go down and first off, look, because a lot of them have lights. If the light's working, you're probably good. But turn them on, see if they heat up, because the last thing, again, you want to do is be replacing it when it's minus 25 out there. And look for areas where air can infiltrate. So there's some trailers that I look after occasionally that are in pretty rough shape. And sometimes you'll find cats and dogs have kind of dug under the trailer and all of a sudden they'll have made a big gap where air can get in. That is the worst. So if you can just create some kind of barrier, put some insulation up, just keep an eye out. Snail Creek, Mike from Snail Creek said, furnace fresh air intake. Seen a wasp coming out today and had a nest in it. Oh, that's miserable. I always hate dealing with nests in enclosed spaces. But if you've ever seen my videos on the redneck hornet and wasp nest killer, that thing's awesome. We made a shop vac with water, 12-foot length ABS pipe, and you can suck the entire nest up and stay far enough back that you're got a reasonable assurance of being safe. Let's just put it that way. But yes, so keep an eye out for that. That's miserable. Poor guy. Next thing, get your gutters cleaned. So yes, again, don't wait until things freeze. 2 thoughts on gutters, because I've cleaned a lot of gutters over the last half decade. First off, wait until all of your leaves have fell, or almost all of your leaves have fallen. That's big, because what I've seen is I've had people call me in and say, hey, Tim, can you clean my gutters? Yep, I'll clean your gutters. So you go and do it. And then 2-3 weeks later, the rest of the leaves fall and then they get blocked off again. And then they have to call you back. So wait as long as you can. For us, we've got about this 2-week window when the leaves have fallen, but it's not too cold that things freeze solid. So here's the next thing. Try to wait for a warm day, first off, okay? But secondly, do it before things are freezing really hard overnight. But if it does happen, try to pick a warm day and wait till the afternoon and then chase the sun if you can. So, you know, do the south side first or whatever it happens to be, but work with the sun, because I've run into 2 things. If you've got those leaves piled in there that kind of insulate it, things don't thaw nearly as quick. And then you got to beat on it with a hammer. And the last thing you want to do is put holes in that thin little aluminum gutter. And speaking of gutter, I have an appointment. I'm having a seamless gutter put on my house. So that way I don't have to crawl up there and doing it again. Hunter says, speaking of windows, gaps on windows, doors, vents, high tech, walk around with a candle. Yes, that's true, because it'll either blow it or kind of try to suck it in a little bit. And that's a poor man's way to find, gaps or air infiltration. Great idea. Great tip, Hunter. I love that. And if you want to spend money on something, you can buy those draft strips. You can, they make a bit of, they're almost like an incense stick. That's what I'm trying to spit out there, guys. Sorry. And the smoke that comes off them will follow, and it'll show you where you have, air infiltration. John says, pull your gutters off and then you never have to clean them again. That is a pro tip right there. And I'm going to laugh at that a little bit. It's funny, but you're right, John. But I pulled mine off last fall with the intentions of putting them back up once I got the fascia, the white aluminum fascia put up. Got the fascia put up, never got my gutters put back on. What ended up happening was the sides of the house turned into an ice rink. So for us, anyway, needs to get up this year. It's one of the last items to get done for sure. Clean your yard up. Like I said, anything that John's been there too, anything that gets frozen is going to stay there all winter. So get that stuff up and off the ground before things freeze. Give it one last mow it fairly short for the fall. Clean all the leaves and the debris up the best you can. If you're a fall fertilizing kind of guy, do it. I don't know if many people are in here or not, but if you're going to get that done. And then here's something else you can do. Limbs. So wait till the leaves fall off to trim your limbs. So if you've got limbs that are rubbing up against the house or weighing things down, pay attention to which ones they are. But once the leaves fall off, they're way easier to get trimmed, cut down, pulled out of the way. It just makes your life a lot easier. So go around, trim your limbs after the leaves fall off. That's just one of those pro tips I've picked up over the years. And then, of course, do not forget about your generator. You guys know I couldn't go through a Repairedness episode without mentioning generator, could I? Run it, test it, make sure it's going to run, because I was listening to the Survival Podcast the other day. There was a lady on there who had a cabin up in Alaska, a dry cabin where she didn't have water pumped in. And she said, guaranteed, your generator is going to break down or quit whenever the weather is the coldest. So make sure you've done your testing for your generator. I like to do my yearly service in the fall. I don't put enough hours on my generator to need to change, do oil changes and that sort of stuff more often than that. So first off, you're going to change your oil, just like you do with anything. Get rid of that old gun. And if you've only put 1 hour on your generator in the last year, change your oil anyway. Just cheap insurance, because you want that thing to be there when you want it. Change the spark plug. And again, I know that this is kind of repetitive, but I want you to hear it. Inspect for damages. I never thought, I never used to do that. Then all of a sudden I put my generator away and I looked, and the heat shield on the exhaust was loose. It was flapping. It was missing 2 screws. 2 screws had completely vibrated out. One fell down through the crack in the deck, and I found one. So I had to replace one anyway. But just take a minute after you're done running your generator, give it an inspection. Give it a good cleaning. So wash it down. Use brake clean to get rid of any exhaust residue. Because what I find is if you spill gas or you got exhaust coming out somewhere, the dust and debris is going to collect there. So use brake clean, wipe it down, save some rags. You can just throw it when you're done. Inspect and clean the air filter. Again, make sure no mice decided, hey, this is a great place to winter. And then you go to start it up and you've got no airflow because, well, little Miss Mouse and her husband and her 3 little mice babies are all in there. And, well, the rest of the story. Hook it up and run the house off it too. So if however you're going to use it in your scenario, test it ahead of time. Make sure your whole system is working. Dan says, I can't bring this. It's over on Telegram, but I'm going to read it to you guys. He says, I hate pumpkin spice. He says, fall is the cancer that slowly kills the life of summer and throws us into the cold death of winter. I hate fall. Poor Dan. Yes, I understand. I enjoy the weather, but we have a very short fall in Alberta. So yeah, it's not very good. So I figured the last segment I wanted to talk about, and this has been on my mind for about 3 or 4 weeks now. So who out there has lingering projects on the go? I know I do. So half the fun, you guys know, in the winter is, whatever, if we're homesteaders planning our garden, planning what livestock we're going to get, if we live in town, it's like, okay, what projects are we going to do to, improve our self-sufficiency, to enjoy, to help improve our enjoyment of our property. And I make lists. That's what gets me through the doldrums of winter. And then as soon as spring hits, I start working on my projects. But this year I found I have lingering projects that are kind of hanging over me like a, I don't know, like a noose or something. So I thought I would share my process the last couple of weeks on figuring out how to get these lingering projects knocked out without procrastinating and with focusing on the priority. So if anybody else out there has got lingering projects you haven't got done for summer yet, I'm sure you have, but let me know in the comments because I'm sure we're in the same boat here, guys. But first thing you got to admit to yourself, and something that I have to admit to myself, is I tend to overplan. If I have, say, 17 hours of work to do, I plan 16 and a half hours worth of work, which means I have almost no give, no leeway if anything goes sideways. Yozik over on Telegram says his lingering project is a motorcycle rebuild. It's my winter project if not done in the fall. So yes, we got projects to do, but I do tend to, you know, if I know a project's going to take a month, I allow a month for it. And I probably should allow a little more time. But the problem is if I get it done quicker, I end up not being too productive with my time. So first thing we need to do is admit to ourselves, at least I need to, that I tend to overplan. I tend to fill my days maybe just a little more than I should. And that's totally fine. Now, I do typically get everything done, but it's usually pretty close. I'm usually working the last couple of jobs just before it gets too cold to finish. And with the daycare this year and the big grant we got and all the work we're doing, it's just filled up my time a little more, but that's totally fine. So what did I do? I made a list of all the projects I haven't got done yet. You know, I'm looking at a sidewalk. Oh, yeah. John says he usually, this is good. He usually plans 5 hours of work for, plans 5 hours. Oh, right. John says I usually plan 5 hours for 10 hours of work. I get it. Yeah, you know, what did Red Green say? I'm a man. I can change, I guess. So yeah, it is what it is. So I made a list of the projects I need to get finished. One is roofing the garage. I also needed to do my rebuild my driveway. And I needed to pull up all my grass to get ready for sod. Guess what? I got the driveway done. I got the grass pulled up, so I'm ready for sod. I need to order the metal. I went down and I booked getting the gutters put up on the house. So I made a list of everything I needed to done. Then the next thing I did, and hopefully this helps, is I figured out which ones were weather contingent. So I need to get those gutters up before things freeze. Perfect. I need to get the sod down as soon as I can so that it has a fighting chance to make it through the winter. That needs to be done sooner rather than later. So I did. And then I ordered the sod and they said, sorry, it'll be 2 weeks, not 2 days like it normally is. Okay, well, I got to deal with it. But the roof on my garage, that can wait till November. That can wait till just before the snow flies. So that's at the very end of my list. I have a deck I want to build in the backyard. Yeah, I know, another deck, but that's okay. That can be done anywhere in between. It's not weather contingent, but I'd like to have it done before the ground freezes, just so I can dig if I need to dig. So kind of figure all of that out. So, you know, number one, make a list of all the lingering projects you have left. I find just putting things on paper makes you feel better, makes me get a little more productive. Then number two, figure out which ones are weather contingent, and then figure them in from the thing that needs to get done now to the thing that can be put off until the snow almost flies. Next thing you want to do is look at your schedule. Okay, and be honest. Don't overcommit, but how many weekends do I have to get this shit done? How many evenings do I have to get this shit done? Figure that out. Then be realistic. Is this job an evening job? You know, or now building this deck last summer would have been an all weekend job. Now with the new, the stand-up screwdriver and the added experience that I have, it's now only a day job. So I know, you know, a 10 or 12 hour day and I am done. So figure out how much time you're going to have, figure out how many weekends you have, figure out what order the remaining jobs have to get done, and then fit them into your schedule accordingly. To me, that has helped so much. It just making, actually, I would say about 2 weeks ago, Becky and I sat down and we made a schedule together because I needed to get it out of my brain and figure out, okay, this is how much time I have left. This is what I'm going to get done before the snow flies. Let's make a list. And then here's the other thing. It is okay to not finish everything in the summer. I've got to admit that to myself because sometimes I don't always do it. Sometimes I kick my own butt. And I say, Tim, why didn't you get this done? I don't want to have to sit all winter and look at that and think, oh, one more day and I would have got it done. But sometimes you got to take a good, hard look at your schedule and say, I'm not going to get it done. So then you got to triage. You got to say, okay, what is the most important? What's the thing I want to get done before the winter? John Palmer says, what? No, absolutely. Yeah, it does suck. I know. Sometimes we just have to admit to ourselves that we're not going to get everything done that we wanted to get done. I have a feeling that my sidewalk, I had planned this summer to teach myself how to run concrete and make a nice new walkway up beside the house. I don't think that's going to get done this year. Part of that was the skid steer I borrowed couldn't get under the existing concrete that was there. I thought it was completely rotten, so I got to come up with a new plan. But besides that, I've got enough jobs that this can wait until next winter. If I can get the eaves trough, the gutters up, or at least hire somebody to do that, then I know that's okay. So that's probably going to be the job that drops off my list. But I do know that I wanted to get my driveway done, get the sod done in the backyard. I want to get a roof on the garage, and I want to get that last piece of deck done in the backyard. And I know I've got enough time to get all that done before I head down south to Prepper Camp and Self-Reliance Festival, which I am stoked about. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for another day. So yeah, that's what we got to do. Take a good, long, hard look at your projects, make a list of what's left, figure out what's weather contingent, look at how many days you've got left in your schedule, be honest with yourself about the items, how long it's going to take you to do each, fit them into that schedule, and whatever's not a priority, bump it off your schedule for this year. That's it, guys. That's it. And, you know, we tend to take on projects. We want to get so much done. We love the nice weather. And I hate to say that 4-letter white stuff is coming soon, but it will for us. I don't know. Some of you may not even get any of that frozen variety of the liquid precipitation, but we're going to. I can't fight it. And I got to be ready for it. So I've got so much time to get my jobs done, and that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was fun. I hadn't done a Repairedness episode in probably a month. Last week's episode was hugely popular with the, I was going to say 5-gallon bucket, the milk crate episode last week. That was great. We did a 5-gallon bucket episode. So I got this entire series of empty container episodes planned for you guys now. We did some brainstorming over on Telegram and in YouTube comments. And so, yeah, I've got a few. We're going to do mason jars. We're going to do 55-gallon drums. We're going to do IBC totes. And I got a couple other ones in there. But anyway, so I'm kind of excited about that. I got a bunch of different series in the works. Just a matter of when I put them all together. So many cool ideas for so many shows. We'll keep working on it. You know, I've got a series that I've been mulling over. It could be a year before I put it all together, but the history of prepping is going to be a good one. Oh, nice. Mike from Snail Creek Homestead said he got his ticket for Self-Reliance. Can't wait. Can't wait to meet you again. I was going to say for the first time, but we already met once, which was great. And if you guys are going to be there, come by and check me out. I cannot wait. I love meeting people in real life. So I'm trying something really cool. I'll announce it now. If you saw, I only posted on Instagram. I got 100 patches. They're the Velcro patches, but they're a die cut patch of the Toolman Tim's workshop. I'm going to take them with me to Prepper Camp and Self-Reliance Festival. They're going to be $10 a piece, that's the price I sell my patches for, period. But we're going to be doing a giveaway. So I talked to Coast Flashlights. They're going to be giving away their top of the line headlamp. The model number escapes me right at the moment, but it's over 2,000 lumens, and it is $100 headlamp. So that's going to be in there. I'm going to be giving away a year subscription to the Patch of the Month Club. I'm working on 2 or 3 other sponsors to have in there. So you're going to be able to buy a patch for the regular price, but you're going to have, there's only going to be 100 of them being sold. If I have any left, I'll bring them back and sell them to you guys. But right now, they're going to only be sold in person. There's going to be 100 of them. Once they're sold, that's it. We're going to do the draws, and I'm going to give away as much cool shit as I can because I just love to do giveaways. And John Palmer says, do you miss me when I can't make it? Absolutely. Nyazik just put up his fall projects here. Fall projects before winter. Trim trees off garage, fix gutter on the back of garage, reattach some gutters where those giant nails aren't holding anymore, plant a couple apple pawpaw trees, 2 more raised garden beds, and I'm sure there's about 5 more I just don't know about yet. So your list gets things added to it just like my list does. I understand. And Hunter says, woohoo, my mason jar handle just finished printing. Yeah, Hunter did some 3D printed mason jar handles, but I'm going to shoot for every month to 2 months doing one of those empty container series. They're huge. People seem to love them, but I don't want them to overstay their welcome. So we'll get them out there as we go. A lot of cool. Yeah, anyway, I've got so many cool show ideas coming up. I can't and won't do a 4th episode a week, not for a while yet. Not until once this business has taken off to the point where there's enough income coming in that I can eliminate a few other things, then I'll probably go 5 days a week at some point. But that's probably, well, whatever. I will share my yearly goals in December with you for 2023, where we're heading. But you know what? Real quick update. I set 2 goals this year for content creation, and Hunter says, "Side disregard, it doesn't fit." Damn it. That's the problem with 3D printed stuff. But so I set a goal this year for 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now, numbers don't mean everything, but to me, there's something. I'm probably not going to hit it, but you know what is going to happen? In the next week, I'm probably going to hit 5,000. Now, if I'd have set a goal for 5,000 subscribers, well, you know what? I may or may not have made it. Who knows? I don't know whether I'd worked hard at it or not, but I'd have made it and that'd have been it. But right now, I've been pushing hard, and I got 4 months to go to hit my 10,000. Whether I do or I don't, doesn't matter. And I also set a goal to have 1,000 listens per episode on the podcast. And we are a hell of a lot closer to that. I've actually had some episodes that have made 1,000 downloads in the first week. So thank you guys. You guys are supporting me. You're getting the word out. Apparently I'm doing something right, because there's enough people out there really enjoying it. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. So, all right, guys, I believe that is it. Let's see. What do we got coming up this week? Number 1 on the Prepper Broadcast Network. Tomorrow is Carl A.D. Brown with A Strange Truth, where he talks about Christianity and the news stories that most other people don't want to touch. On Monday is Phil and Andrew, the Matter of Facts podcast. If you guys don't follow them, they are entertaining. Always enjoy them. And Phil is starting to, well, give him some support over on Instagram and a few other places. He's really dabbling into the shorts and like the TikTok kind of stuff. So get over there, follow him on all the socials if you can. And Tuesday is Ryan and Colin Buford of the Next Generation podcast. Ryan will be on our show here in a few weeks. Going to be great to have him. It'll be his 3rd appearance on the Workshop podcast. And what do we got Saturday? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I believe Saturday is going to be a Saturday morning live stream. It's going to be great to have, just moving things around a little bit so that I can enjoy some family time and get a couple of big projects done. So it's probably going to be a Saturday morning live stream, and it's going to be a This Week in the Workshop. I've done a shit ton of stuff I want to update you on and let you know. There's just so many things on the go, and I'll probably answer some community questions, do some community feedback while we're at it. So Saturday's probably going to be a morning episode, but Sunday evening you do not want to miss. John Willis from Special Operations Equipment, that's where the Self-Reliance Festival happens down in Camden, Tennessee. He's going to be on live, and we're going to be talking tools. He is a man that loves his tools, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I can almost guarantee you there'll be 1 or 2 or a dozen F-bombs dropped, and that's always fun. I love talking to John. So if you want to have a good, entertaining time, come by Sunday evening, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. It's going to be great. All right, guys, that's it for me this week. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.